Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on detection techniques for identifying AWS IAM targeted attacks. I am Nandini Bharadwaj, the operating officer at Cyber Warfare Labs and the host of today's webinar. And I'm excited to have you all here with us today. So let's get started. So before we start, let me tell you a bit about us. We are Cyber Warfare Labs, a UK-based focused company on cybersecurity education. Our goal is to help tackle cybersecurity challenges with practical solutions. So here we have got two main divisions for our company. The first is Cyber Range Lab. This is where you get hands-on experience with the cybersecurity. We have built a virtual platform where you can try out real-life scenarios and sharpen your skills with practical exercise. And the second one is Upskilling Platform. Here, we offer a bunch of courses for people at all skills level. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, we have got something for you. Our courses cover domains like ethical hacking, red teaming, blue teaming, purple teaming, and cloud security. So that's all about the company. And our training services are available to educational institute, government agencies, and corporate organizations. Both online and offline training options are available. So if you want to know more, drop us an email to our support team, that is support@cyberwarfare.live. Okay, so next move to next slide. Okay, so now let's take a moment to introduce our speaker of today's webinar, that is Hari Suthan. So Hari Suthan is a senior security engineer at Cyber Warfare Labs, where his passion for cybersecurity shines through his work. With a strong interest in the realm of cyber defense, Hari Suthan is on mission to bolster digital security and safeguard against the ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats. So that's all about the speaker. And dear participants, we will be providing you the attendance certificate within 48 hours and a video recording for the same. And as promised, lucky winner will get a chance to win the access of Teaming Fundamental Certification course (BTF). So if anyone who hasn't participated in the webinar giveaway, please participate now. I will be dropping the participation link in the chat box, so you can participate there. And after that, we will announce the winner. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so thank you for being part of this engaging session and we'll look forward for your continuous participation. So here, without further ado, I would like Hari to take over and let's get started. Okay, over to you, Hari.
Hello. I hope my audible is my audio is clear and my screen is visible. Let's begin quickly. So, yeah, I hope you guys have been joined in our previous webinar on the particular detection techniques for S3 attacks. So now we have been delivering our part 2 of the same series. Like now we have been solely concentrating on the IAM attacks, which where we can be getting using various techniques for identifying and detecting over the commonly targeted IAM based attacks. So this is the simplest agenda which we have been planned to deliver over this webinar. So first we will be getting through the basic introduction about IAM and common IAM targeted attacks, and followed by the list of essential AWS servers for safeguarding the IAM services, and we will be also discussing various detection techniques for identifying for those commonly IAM targeted attacks, and we will be concluding our webinar. So if you guys have been following the previous webinar, it's been so clear and precise. Like we will be covering some various common attacks techniques which has been targeted over the AWS service, and we will be investigating over the same using our SIM solution, and we will came to know what are all the investigation pattern which can be used while performing our analysis. So before jumping into our investigation, let's get to a basic introduction about the IAM service. So as we all aware of this AWS IAM service, it's been very traditional and commonly well known among every users. So it acts as a security control access to the AWS resources. As we know in cybersecurity industry, it has been most common and most essential part of our security is to establish a authorization, authentication, and access control. So for achieving such stuff over the AWS service, so the AWS has been developed a particular resource called IAM, like Identity Access Management. So using this particular resource, we can create users, we can attach policies. So we can attach policies to the user, we can create a custom role which can be specifically attached to various resources. So by implementing those stuff, we can effectively assign or restrict privileges where privileges over the users who has been resides inside the AWS infrastructure. So it is a key component and centralized part for the entire AWS management. So it typically allows us to manage the entire user group permission. So it's a centralized dashboard where we can effectively perform various managements among users roles and policies, and we can effectively assign some restrictive role like low privilege role to some various services. So this is what this particular AWS resource act for, and it's also helpful in achieving various security controls like enabling a multi-factor authentication over the particular users, or using various constraints or various security controls over it. So as simple as to give a simple overview about IAM, it's act as a very precise and access management control over the AWS infrastructure. It's used for creating and managing various users, roles, and policies. So it's been so clear, like in case of cyber attacks, attackers or adversaries commonly target such service to gain a or elevate their lower privilege to the higher privilege. So this is what this make us a much special to get more focus on the defensive perspective. So we have been more concentrate on this particular stuff, like what are all the activity or what are all the commonly targeted attacks over this particular service, how it can be identified. This is our end goal for this particular webinar. So without going for more detail and basic stuff, let's quickly move. So here the illustrated image gives you a better visibility. What are all the way of authentication which can be particularly performed over the AWS service. So here you can specifically see there are three major services. One, getting authorized to the AWS resource using the like console based access, or using the secret key and access key, or using the short-term credential or security tokens. So these are all the three possibility way of getting authenticated or authorizing to the AWS infrastructure within the organization. So just it's just a idea like how users can be get authenticated over the AWS resource. If you have been seeing this image, you clearly seeing using the IAM username and password, using like we can interact with the AWS console and we can get login to this particular AWS resource. Alternatively, we do have a CLI based authentication where you can use the access key and secret key to get authenticate and get access to your resource, or you can use the short-term credential like the security tokens to get access to it. So there are three possible ways. So for our webinar, we will be solely focusing on the IAM username and password like console-based access, because it has been commonly observed and commonly used among multiple organizations. So, before jumping into our, as I mentioned, before jumping into our investigation, let's record a very basic information and basic detail about how the IAM works and what are all the features have been associated with the IAM. So, this illustrated image gives you a high visibility. So here you will be common, if in case of IAM you will be generally observing three um, terms. One would be the user, role, and policy. So these three are the commonly observed terminology which will be observed over the IAM service. So using the IAM, the AWS admin can create multiple users where and later this user can be shared among various employees to get access to this particular AWS infrastructure. So in case of access, right, like we required some policies to restrict the user or to get permit the user to access some resource. For example, if the user need the S3 full permission, so the relevant policy should be attached to the user so the user can access that particular AWS resource. So this is how traditional access management work in the AWS. So we have predefined policies and inline policies. So based on our requirement and need for the users, so if the user is working on some working on some various like the storage side, like so we need to assign a relevant policy to the particular user, and later the user can access the particular AWS service. Alternatively, we too can create a role which specific to these services, so we can restrict the service using by attaching various roles further. So this is a general overview. As everybody has like these are all the general terminology and the working of IAM. So without any further wasting, so let's dive into our core motive of our webinar. So here we will be we'll be discussing about various commonly observed attacks and how the investigation for the particular attacks have been done. Yeah, so these are all the three major technique which I have been picked, like investigating multiple failed login activity, investigating MFA failed login activity, and investigating suspicious activity of user granted with full permission. So here we have taken with three scenario, one with the multiple failed user login. As I mentioned, IAM has been responsible for authorization and authentication. So we will definitely observe lot of activity which are related to the login brute forcing and login brute forcing activity. Soon after, if might the as we know, like the default security to prevent such login fail, like enabling the MFA. Even so, like we might observe some brute forcing toward the MFA. So we will be specifically investigating those, and we will be investigating one interesting use case where the user with whose user who got granted with the full privilege. As per the privilege, as per the access management, it is been unnecessary, or it is not been mandatory to, or it is not to recommended for the users to attach a fully granted privilege to any users. So it should be assigned based on their needs and based on their usage. So here we will be investigating a scenario where the AWS user got assigned with the full privileges. So let's get started. So here from further we will be discussing about the attack execution flow and their investigation, and we will be demonstrating how this particular investigation has been done. So these are all the commonly observable service for detecting the or detecting or protecting IAM service. There are other services too. We will be using CloudTrail, CloudWatch, GuardDuty, Security Hub, IAM Access Analyzers. So there are multiple default service. So as we know, in case of blue team, like in case of specifically cloud blue teaming, if you are using some internal service of which the AWS is providing, like the guard duty, cloud trial, cloud watch, or security hub, or access analyzer, it's been quite pricey and quite costly, because as if just imagine, just if an organization has a 10,000s of employees where they have been solely navigated to the cloud infra, managing such infrastructure will be so costly, and if you have been enabling such security services, it would be too costly as per their cost management. So here we have been came up with some ideology. What if we have been integrating this cloud logs or cloud monitoring without traditional SIM? That is what we have been going to focus on. We will be collecting and accumulating various cloud logs, and we will be further forwarding to our SIM, and we will be performing the investigation over our SIM service. So this is what the plan is. But by general, these are all the service where which has been commonly used for protecting and preventing IAM targeted attacks. So here is our infrastructure. So if you are seeing the infrastructure, you have been getting a very clear idea. So these are all the AWS user which is been get generated using the IAM service, and as I mentioned, we also can create various roles and policy over the same, and this particular IAM has been get constantly monitored by various security AWS security services like CloudTrail, CloudWatch, Security Hub, Guard Duty. So this is a traditional infrastructure. Even though like if you have been testing or if you have been this infrastructure has been commonly observed among various organizations. As I mentioned, the only drawback of this particular security or architecture is been cost. It's been more costlier than the traditional monitoring. So yeah, this is our IAM monitoring architecture where we will be going to investigate it. So the logic behind this being more simpler. So we will be collecting and accumulating logs from the IAM servers using the CloudTrail, and later we will be forwarding this particular CloudTrail to a file bit which is been get hosted into our EC2, and we will be centralizedly performing our monitoring. So compared to the inbuilt AWS resources, it's not totally free. Like it has been quite cheaper than the other traditional monitoring. So this is the ideology behind our architectural overview. So this is where we will be sitting here and centralizedly monitoring every activity, and we will be proceed investigating. So the major advantage here is we will be using Elastic our SIEM. So it's a open source. You can also create detection rule based on your analysis and investigations. So the first attack phase. So first we will be explaining the attack flow, and we will be investigating over. We will be following an investigative mind map, and we will be practically demonstrating how this particular activity can be investigated using our SIM. So, multiple fail login is a commonly observable attack within the enterprise. People in security domains will already aware of such activity. Many attackers will be gathered their information using various reconnaissance and OSINT technology, and after gathering their user names or some enterprise email ID, they will be try brute forcing the try brute forcing their AWS official environment using various word lists or various custom created word lists. So this is how it's traditionally work. So by seeing this image, you will get a clear understanding. Like this might be the external. This is the external targeted attack. So there is no need of being getting access like the exact access to be get logged into the AWS service. It's not be mandatory. So people will be trying using various controls and like various like it is been get targeted by the external. So the attacker will be using various word lists to get bypass this particular authentication mechanism. So here you will see the attacker use targeting one particular user using multiple fails. So the scenario might be two, either it might be a fail and the lockout event might get observed, or the user might get successful. If the password of this particular user has been so weak, it might get bypassed and the attacker get the access over this particular IAM service. So this is what the entire flow we know. As we know already. So let's jump into our SIM console. Yeah, I hope the SIM console is visible, right? Like, let me check. Yeah, so it's visible. Let's quickly jump into our demonstration server, demonstration stuff. So as I mentioned, we have been integrated our service like the CloudTrail logs to our SIM. So here you will be observing various logs. It has been so precise to the if you have been seeing we have been integrated multiple service provider including the AWS. So from here we will be going to perform our investigation. So first step of investigating the multiple failed login, we need to identify and prioritize the CloudTrail logs. So I'm just simply prioritizing the CloudTrail logs because there might be a multiple case scenario where you might be getting like multiple logs. So it is been recommended to prioritize the CloudTrail logs initially, and later we can perform our further investigation. So let me um, quickly jump into this. Let me quickly prioritize the CloudTrail logs. Yeah, it's taking a bit time. Let's wait. Yeah. So if you have been seeing here, we can see multiple log even like CloudTrail audit, activity log, firewall, VPC log. So we have been more precisely monitoring the CloudTrail log to identify the multiple fail login. So here I have been precisely filter out the event which are get associated with the CloudTrail logs, and later I'm just going to filter out the event which are associated with the IAM service. So for that, like I'm just using the cloud identity type. So even though like if you have been looking at it, we can observe multiple identity type like AWS servers, assume role, IAM user, root, AWS account. So here we have been solely prioritizing the event which are associated with the IAM user. So after drilling down the event, we came to have the 258 event. So we will be going to perform our investigation over this particular 258 event to identify and determine the login brute force activity. So in case of login brute force, it has been commonly observed the failed login activity. So it is so common like the attacker, when the attacker is trying using the failed login, it has been commonly observed behavior of failed activity. So the next step is I'm just filtering the event with the outcome of failed activity. The event outcome which is get associated with the failed activity. So here we are more precise to the 28 event. So the resulted or the event which are been associated with the failed IAM user activity. So in addition, we have been using the like as I mentioned. So the login can be done on multiple way. Like the either the attacker can use the console based login, CLI based login. So here our scenario is more precise to the console based login. So for that case, let me capture the event action. Yeah. So here too, like you will get to have a, if the attacker is using console login, you will get to have a log associated with it. Or if it is a CLI based, you will get a log associated with the CLI. So in our case, we are prioritizing the console log. So here we are seeing the 7 hit of the particular filter routed event, and let me check the username. So here you can see we have seen two users and one is hidden to the security, which might be the root user in such case. So here I can see the EMP02, which is being more commonly observed in failed activity. So having 6 failed activity in a very short time frame, it is been seems to be a suspicious and it is a malicious thing. Unless or until it is been get confirmed over the user whether it's been done by the user end or not. It can be also done based on the company's policies and procedure of their investigation. But in general, this particular 6 activity within a very short time frame, it is been generally considered as a malicious activity. So in such case, there might be two scenario as I mentioned. It can be done by the employee end or it can be done by the attacker end. So for digging down this activity, so just go through your raw log. So you will get a lot of information from where this particular event has been initiated and what is the city, and you will get a lot of information like what is the service provider name, from where the it's been originated. You will get the public IP associated with this. So from here we will be determining, so this is not the end point of our investigation. We need to find whether there is a successful login event or not. So here I found the employee 2 with multiple fail. So let me prioritize the event with the same time frame and checking for the event outcome with the successful event. Yeah. So here I can see within the same time frame, I can see a successful login from the same user. If you are reviewing the log, there might be a case we might observe the same IP address associated with this failed login. So yeah, so we are observing the same IP which has been associated with the failed login. So this might be clearly see there is an activity of multiple fail like nearly 7 or 6 try and there is a successful event. So as I mentioned previously, we can directly contact the EMP02 and get confirmed whether this activity is done by the employee or this particular public IP can be blocked for several hours based on their company policy. So blocking the public IP is not a very defensive solution. So alternatively, we can recommend the user for enabling the MFA to get prevented from such attacks. So I hope this particular investigative steps help you to understand how a typical investigation is being done over the multiple failed login. So the one beautiful thing about the ELK is we can create a deduction rule out of this particular scenario, and soon after this particular scenario match, we will be get to have a alert related to it. Yeah. So just a small note, like just if you guys have any question or query, just hold until to the end of the webinar. We will be clarifying those same in the end of the webinar. Yeah. So yeah, let's quickly jump back to our slide. So here I have been given a very precise mind map how this particular investigation should be done. So first we will be extracting the AWS log. Like if you have been configured with multiple logs, multiple cloud service provider like Azure, GCP and AWS. So our first priority is to prioritize the AWS based log, and we have been prioritizing the CloudTrail logs, and we are filtering the requests which are associated with the IAM user, and we have been hunting for the failed login activity which is associated with the brute forcing activity, and we have been specifically looking for the console login, but you can alternatively check for the CLI based login too for more security practices. For giving you a better idea, this might help you to understand the working flow over the same. Yeah. So let's quickly jump into our second scenario, investigating multiple failed MFA failed login activity. So as we know, MFA is act as a additional security barrier where we can enable the MFA to generate a OTP where the if the user has been like user has been logged into their console, they will be entering their credential. Additionally, they will be entering their one-time password over the same. But this might be can also brute force the attackers, like it is also get observed the attackers are also brute forcing that particular MFA to get bypass the MFA restriction. So it is one of the techniques. So it has been get to have a aware or get to have an idea how this particular attack activity has been happened and what are their investigative steps. So the illustrated image will gives you a better understanding, like the same as the previous, like the user has been trying to brute force the MFA login of the particular AWS user. So this is the scenario. So here we will be the same, the architecture is same. We will be proceed investigating this particular activity using our SIM, and let's see what are all the pattern which get associated with this particular MFA failed activity. So as similar to the login failed activity, first we have been prioritizing the CloudTrail logs. We have been successfully prioritized the CloudTrail logs, and we will be prioritizing the event which is been get associated with the IAM user. As same as the previous, we will be prioritizing the event which are been associated with the IAM users. Yeah. And yeah, again we are been prioritizing the failed outcomes because MFA, if the user is brute forcing the MFA, they will be definite there is a absolute possibility of getting a failed event associated with that particular activity. So we have prioritized to that, and we have event outcome, event action. Again, if it is MFA, we will be definitely getting the console based login. Console, just extending the time frame. And additionally, to specifically, like this is the actual query to get monitor the multiple failed login. So how we will be specifically prioritizing the MSP failed login? By additionally adding this particular query, you can successfully prioritize this particular logs which has been associated with the failed login activity. So here you can see after I'm just using this particular query, which will result as with the three particular hit. So we can check this particular raw logs to get to get a better understanding. So here I can see the error messages, failed authentication from the users. Failed login activity. First, we will be prioritizing the CloudTrail logs, and we will be prioritizing the IAM user activity and failed on the console login as similar to the multi fail login. But additionally, we will be using this particular query to extract the user who has been using the MFA. So this particular query helps you to prioritize the event which has been associated with the MFA failed activity. So sometimes this particular pattern is also commonly observed on various IT enterprise. So it is also been recommended to monitor such activity to get defense in depth stuffs. So I hope this particular two scenarios might be similar, but they have a very huge differentiate associated over the same. So I hope this is clear. Until this, you will be getting a clear idea, I guess. So as I mentioned, so just hold your queries over the end of the session. Like at the end, we will be clarifying every queries. Let's quickly jump into our final stuff. Yeah, before jumping into it, like let me explain the investigative mind map. The investigative mind map, it's been so similar. Like we will be first prioritizing the AWS logs, and we will be prioritizing the CloudTrail logs, and we will be particularly filtering the event which are associated with the IAM user, and we will be hunting for the failed login as it is as its scope is for the failed user, and we will be filtering the event which are associated with the console login, and finally we will be prioritizing the MFA failed activity. So this is how we can effectively investigate the MFA failed based investigation. Yeah. Let's jump into our last and interesting scenario. So this is one of the interesting use case. As you have been previously work in a cybersecurity, or you have been so you have been in the cybersecurity domain, you will definitely came to know the access restriction with the user. It has been mandatory among every organization to not to provide as much as privilege to the particular user due to various complaints, audit purpose, and much more activity, and to maintain a secure infrastructure too. But in case of one compromise, or if in case of an attack, this particular pattern is being commonly observed. Some randomly user is been creating some user and assigning a full permission to this particular newly created user or the existing user. So let's assume a scenario. So these particular attacks has been falls under the insider threat. So the previous two which we have been constantly seeing is been the external targeted attack, but the one which you are seeing right now is been the insider threat. So detecting and investigating the insider threats have been more serious, and it's been bit hard compared to the external targeted attack. So let me proceed explaining the scenario investigation steps, so it will be helps you to helps you while performing your investigation. So here is the entire overflow. So let us assume the user A, which where we have been observing the user A is within the AWS infrastructure. But unfortunately, the user A has a privilege of assigning the IAM role has been by defaultly or previously get used with the user. So the user has a permission to attach a high privilege policy to another user. Just assume a scenario where the user, like let us assume a sysadmin. So sysadmin among the AWS enterprise might require the IAM permission to manage such a policy based activity. So if in case of the compromise of the sysadmin, so the attacker can attach the high privilege policy to one user B or user X to perform their various attack. So this might be the scenario. So these are all, as I mentioned, these are all the insider threat where it's been so hard to investigate and identify the same. So here it's the overflow. Like here we are seeing the user got assigned with the S3 star, which means the full permission, where the user can create, delete, update, or modify the bucket policy by using this particular policy over it. So we will be investigating this particular activity using our traditional SIM management. let's get proceed our investigation. Yeah, so the first phase of investigation is again begin by prioritizing the CloudTrail logs. So we will be first prioritizing the CloudTrail logs. We can also use other logging, like if, for example, if you have been integrated with the security hub, or if you have been integrated with the security hub and other security services, so we can collect and accumulate log from that particular service for proceeding the investigation. But this particular methodology has been like commonly used on various investigation, and it will gives you a better visibility over it. So let me first prioritize the CloudTrail logs. So after prioritizing the CloudTrail logs, we will be proceed extracting the IAM users again. So now we have been not going to prioritize and investigate the activity associated with the failed login or something. So the event action of this particular event has been changed. So now we are going to prioritize the event which are associated with the attach policy. So attach policy is nothing but the API call which is being get observed or get monitored within the AWS infrastructure while some user has been attaching some policy to a resource or the user. So this is the notable point where our initial investigation begins. So I have been prioritized the CloudTrail logs and the IAM user logs, and I'm just prioritizing the attach user event action. So later we need to prioritize the event with the successful outcome. So this scenario has been bit quite different from the other. Here we are just typically monitoring the user who successfully attached the higher permission to another user. So here we are being more concentrate on the successful event outcome. So let me prioritize that. And yeah, so attach user policy is, if the in such case it is so blind and commonly observed. Why? Because if I'm attaching some policy, this particular API call will be get invoked. So the attached policy can be a low privilege one or the custom privilege one. So we are specifically targeting for a full privilege. So we need to add another query to filter out that particular excessive privilege assignment. So let me paste this. So yeah, here you can see previously we have seen two particular event. Now we have been more precise to the event which is been associated with the full access policy assignment. So for differentiate it, let me show you a difference between those. So here previously we get two hit. So if you are looking into their logs, so here you can see the policy of S3 deletion has been assigned to the EMP02. But as I mentioned, we are specifically focusing on looking for the event which is associated with the full permission assignment. By, by attaching this particular query, we will be more precise and we will get an accurate result which are associated with the full access assignment. So here by investigating the particular stuff, I can see the Amazon Connect full access has been granted to the user test. So this is the flow, and let deep digging the log, you will get to see which particular user assigned this particular policy. Here you can see the DB admin has been assigned the uh, policy of Amazon Connect full access to the user test. So this is how it's typically works. So we can see the entire result of what exactly happening and how it's been happening for our investigative purposes. So I hope this is more precise and clear for you. So this investigation is solely for identifying and investigating the user account which got attached with the full permission. By investigating those, you will get a lot of ideas which is been associated with the excessive privilege assignment. So while in case if the attacker or adversaries are trying to escalate their privilege or assigning or maintaining a persistent with the infrastructure, this particular technique will help you to identify and determine over the same. So yeah, like before moving further, let's um, explain our investigative mind map for the same. So first, so the investigative mind map, the pasted has been different. So the first, we have been prioritizing the CloudTrail logs, and we have been prioritizing the user like activity which has been associated with the IAM user, and we have been prioritizing the event action which are associated with the attach policy, and we are specifically prioritizing the event the activity which are associated with the full access, privilege. So by doing same, you will get to retrieve the logs which are associated with the full access permission. There, by deep digging the log, you know which user got assigned with the full access and who is the user who's been responsible for attaching that particular policy. I hope this particular session helps you to understand the common attacks technique and the investigative methodology for investigative IAM targeted attack. So this is the topic which we covered is been commonly observed topic, but there are a lot more attack techniques where the attacker has been um, creating and performing over the AWS infrastructure. So it has been recommended to go through every attacks and test it over your same. So before jumping into our Q&A session, as we promised, like we have been giving a QA of our Blue Team Fundamental course. So if you have been still failed to participate in that particular one, just follow this link and you will get to know the details how to grab this particular opportunity. For this particular webinar, you will be getting your attendance certificate, and the recording of this particular webinar will be get hosted on our official YouTube channel, and the PDF will be also get shared. And I will be also personally sharing the command like ALK query where you can get to have a clear idea over the investigative query. So let's quickly jump into our Q&A. If you guys have any queries, like feel free to discuss. Let me share the particular link over this chat. Yeah. So apart from this, if you have any query related to particular stuff, okay. So I hope it's been so clear to you all. If you still have a query, you can contact over our LinkedIn page, or you can send your queries over our mail. So I hope you guys have been enjoyed the webinar. So it is like as we plan, like it is a series of webinars. So we already covered the S3 targeted attacks and their investigation, and we are also right now covered the IAM service, and soon we will be also covering the other major services like EC2 and other services too. So stay tuned for our upcoming webinar. I hope you guys love this. Yeah. Thanks for joining. Yeah.